I'm Batman.
Good luck, Harry Potter.
Well, cover me with eggs and flour and bake me for 40 minutes.
Hello, welcome back. We're still here.
Yep.
We're today going to rant on a little bit about our 5 TV shows that we've brought to talk about. As we said in the last episode, this was sort of a top 5 originally, but then we just sort of chucked in anything that we wanted to discuss, really, for whatever
stuff
reason.
that we've watched,
Exactly.
stuff that we love that we still.
And the only reason
watch.
for that is that the top 5s or top whatevers are incredibly difficult to do.
I'm sure we will tackle those at some point.
I
in the
think we
future.
can try.
We'll, after we've done a few of these, we'll
may have to
we'll narrow that
genre
list down.
it.
Yeah,
I think I could do it based on genre.
Yeah.
I'm not sure overall though.
Yeah, we've got topics for discussion already
Exactly.
in mind. So we'll get to those. We'll get to those.
We're back. I feel I should do the introduction-y bit again, just as this would only be the second episode. So this is Screenmasters. I am Bav.
I am Fluff.
And this is a podcast discussing film and TV show largely, although based on the first episode, a little bit of wrestling as well, apparently. Or certainly some referencing wrestling references.
We'll try and limit that.
And maybe a little sprinkling of comic books in there as well. But so this is the second episode, and we are talking about TV shows today. Now, I believe that you started.
I did. So
movies one. So
I think you should start the TV shows.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day then, and when we decided that this was what we were going to do for the first episode, as it was supposed to be, now 2.
We went a little bit.
We went
a little bit over.
We went longer than expected.
Yeah. So
but,
that'll probably be a running theme. We'll be it will be short, and then it goes on a little.
It's all content. So the first show I want to talk about is an anime, and it was the first anime I ever saw. Back in 95, 96, it must have been. It was on Late Night Channel 4, called Fist of the North Star.
I remember it.
Now, I love this anime. I actually have the box set. I don't think it's out at the minute. I think I've put it away because, again, I have children. I got kids. No, let's not. No more wrestling references. No more wrestling references.
Let's not go there.
So yeah, I got children, so I have put it away because it's a bit bloody.
Just a bit.
The box set, but yeah, I think it's really good. It's all just about martial arts. And pressure point martial arts. So he manipulates pressure points with his punches, and then basically their heads explode, or their arms explode, or their legs explode. It depends where he hits them. But it's not as crap as it sounds. It's really good, and
it's surprisingly one of the ones that I haven't kind of seen on Netflix or anything.
Yeah, no, you're right.
They've put a lot on,
and it's not been remade either.
No,
because some of them,
what
is it, Neon Genesis Evangelion? Is it?
Yeah, I don't know whether
that's been remade a couple of times, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously Akira, they've been trying to do for
Lord
knows how long.
They're trying to redo that again.
But yeah, so that it was my first introduction to it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But it was, I would have been a 13-year-old at the time, and yeah, it was kicking and punching and martial arts and violence, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
No, it's one.
And like I say, I've watched it not so long ago, and I still like it now.
It's certainly one that I've not watched in a very, very long time. But yeah, no, likewise. It's some of the animes from back then. I think the first one for me was Guyver way back. That was.
Guyver, loved that.
Yeah, so that was the one that kind of got me in.
A shout out to Bawley if he's listening to this. Yeah. He was a big fan of Guyver. I remember helping him collect the videos, the VHSs. Again, VHS references. That's going to become a theme.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember helping him source those back at the time because we both really wanted to watch the Guyver series.
But yeah, no. So yeah, Fist was certainly one of the more enjoyable ones. I think that was the thing. Like back then, it was harder because again, it was the VHS. We've got the privilege of Netflix and the internet, etc. Whereas exactly. Whereas way back, we had to go to video shops to actually rent manga and stuff like that. That was not as easy to get hold of.
No, I
as
used
it
to
is
get
now.
mine through, I think they were called Black Star or something originally, and then changed to sendit.com. But they could get stuff from America as Play. If you ever used Play back in the day, they had a US shop as well, and you could get stuff from America as long as you could, do your DVD player
Yeah.
to Region 1 or whatever it was back in the day. But yeah, go on then.
Okay,
You're up.
so one that I've actually watched recently, and it's been a good few series which have been out, and it's a BBC show, surprisingly enough.
I was going to say, I'm surprised to see that, because I did expect you to be bringing more of the US stuff.
No. There's plenty of US in there, but no one. I was like, yeah, you know what, this one piqued my interest, and that'll give you a bit of a subtitle there. It was Peaky Blinders.
Do you want to tell them, or should I? This place is under new management. By order of the Peaky Blinders.
Okay, I've not watched it.
Not one that I'd actually envisaged getting round to watch at some point, but I had some time spare, and I was like, you know what? I know my little brother had been a huge fan of that, and had said to me about watching it, and you know what? Thoroughly enjoyed the damn thing. It was really, really.
It's got the cast list that says like, "Hey,
massively.
this show's amazing."
Oh yeah. I mean, it covers quite a wide range of time. From the 1920s period, and it is thoroughly enjoyable.
And it's about gangs is it Birmingham?
Birmingham, yeah. So the Peaky Blinders.
That's Birmingham, UK again. I'm assuming, just in case any American people.
We are English. We're not Australian.
Like
before you suddenly, get
hello,
any
Americans,
others,
if you're listening.
Yeah.
I've got no problem with you.
No.
And hi. But yes, we're talking about Birmingham, UK, not Birmingham. There's one in Alabama. There's probably other ones as well.
Yeah. But no, so it's set up in the north, which again, is a part of the country I'm familiar with.
I think people are going to argue with you calling Birmingham the north.
All right, well,
north. I totally agree with you. I thought
I thought
the wall was in Derby,
but
to start with. So,
okay.
Again, distancing foreign viewers, but that's about the middle of England.
Yeah, there's
so it's not the north by any stretch of the imagination.
But yeah,
we're Southern Fairies, so we would
piqued
say
my interest because of, like you say, the cast on it was just immense. And I will give a massive shout out to Tom Hardy in this series. He doesn't appear.
Is he in all of it, or does he just?
No,
appear...
I think he kind of appears from series 2. Okay. He does a couple of appearances season 2. I think 1 or 2 season 3, and season 4 as well. But honestly, if they'd have based an entire show around his character as well, I would have loved it. He really does the justice. But that's not to take away from Helen McCrory. She's brilliant. She's again a female lead. She's absolutely fantastic in it. Cillian Murphy. He is the front and center of this. But again, all of the supporting cast are just as good, just as important to the role as anybody else in that. But it was a little gem. It really was. I'm not going to lie. At times, it kind of it gets into the drama of it, and it kind of goes through the tropes of kind of gang warfare and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But again, it is a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. And again, for a BBC production, which isn't, not to take anything away from the BBC.
Let's be fair, the BBC production values can struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's purely because of the budgets over here versus the budgets in America, because of the viewing audience you've got in America, and the way the BBC is uniquely funded.
Yeah, but it was a good look into the history of the UK, because obviously, a lot.
Yeah, it's not a lot. It's not something I know a lot about.
No,
I didn't know we had our own gangs of New York that happened in Birmingham.
Yeah. Now you do realise the comments are going to be, for your horrible accent there.
I do a good Birmingham accent.
Oh,
mate.
Jesus Christ.
My name's Brian from Smith.
Okay, right.
It's alright. It's fine. That's only a pinch.
So it's on the Netflix. It is on the Netflix, and I believe I saw a brief trailer for the season 5, which is coming out very shortly, which is good. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Okay. Cool. Well, sticking with your theme of British, then I'm going to skip to what was number 4 in my list, and bring Line of Duty to the table.
Oh, okay.
Superintendent Hastings, like the battle. Bent coppers.
I've seen enough bent coppers.
You know, if I see a bent copper, I'll go after him. Bent coppers. He's your bent copper for the 21st century.
Bent coppers. And I'm doing mine. And it's called Nick and Bent Coppers.
Now, I don't think you've watched any of that.
No.
Because again, it's all on Netflix.
Yeah.
So you should totally go and watch it. But it's a really, really good show, and it's not a crashy, bangy, explosion-y type show. There is some of that in there, particularly with the latest season, as the budgets have gone up.
Yeah.
As it's got more popular as the seasons have come along, they've given them more money, therefore they can do more with it. But it's I mentioned it to you before, and the closest thing I can compare it to would be The Wire. It's like a British version of The Wire because it's based in anti-corruption. And The Wire, although it wasn't based in anti-corruption, was always showing you the corruption within and inherently. Whereas this shows you it because they're investigating it first and foremost. But yeah, it's a great show. And, we were just talking about the cast list for Peaky Blinders. I didn't know any of the people in this, but they're damn good. I couldn't argue with them. And to be fair, Martin Compston, who's like Steve Arnott, the main sort of cop guy in it, that's sort of the main male lead anyway. He I only found out recently is like Scottish or something, but he does such a convincing London accent that I didn't even know.
Yeah, don't
I saw him in
try
something
London
else. I was like,
accent.
"Who are you?" And no, I'm not going to do his accent. But I saw him in something else and was like, "Oh my god, you've got range. You're not. You're actually a Scottish person, not this guy." So, but it's really good.
It's certainly one. Again, like you say, it's one that's increased in popularity. Again, we're a little bit.
It does happen
more
with them. 'Cause
seasoned.
everyone's talking about Killing Eve at the minute. And like that's on its third season or something.
I think it's second.
Oh, is it second?
Yeah, I think it's only
thought
second.
It was third. But anyway, it's partway through, and now everyone's talking about it. And Line of Duty was like the third or fourth season.
Suddenly
everybody
started
talking about it. It's a strange thing.
Yeah. It's one that, oddly enough, my mum I know has watched. She,
there you go.
and that's it. It's when we get a little bit more seasoned, a little bit more mature. Some of these series which we would never have thought to get around to watching. No, it's one that's certainly been on the radar. Again, like you say, it's on Netflix. We're not plugging Netflix in any way.
No, it's just
it's just one that we just have access to. I mean, that's the thing when you've got a huge library, as they do.
They do, and a lot of stuff's on there, and it's just ease a lot of the time. I have Sky, which would be the equivalent of cable, I suppose, in this country. And I could watch Line of Duty on catch up on there if I wanted to, but to be honest, my computer was always on and plugged into my telly, so I'll probably use Netflix.
Sure.
It's just the way it is, isn't it?
No, it's certainly one that's it's on the radar. Based on your recommendation as usual.
And it's an easy one as well because it's a British one. It's actually quite short per season.
That's,
as I'm assuming Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders was a relatively short one as well.
You're about 6 episodes a season, which is delightful stuff sometimes.
The
American shows.
24 episodes just can be a bit of a slog.
I'm sorry, guys, but
not to knock it, but
stick some filler in there.
Yeah.
Just cut it down, shall we? Go on then. Is it back to you for number
back
two?
to me. So for number 2, I'm gonna pick a series which I'd not got into way back when, but I had, I think, towards the middle end of last year. It'd been one on my radar for a long time, which was Deadwood.
It'd be a pity not to recognize what's at stake. To go ahead and die stupid.
Hate to end a fool.
Okay, the Western.
Yeah, the Western one. And it had been one that I'd been wanting to watch for absolutely ages. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 came out. And just beforehand, I'd read a couple of reviews that kind of said, this is Deadwood for gaming. And I was like, you know what? I've been wanting and toying with Deadwood. Let's get through it. And I buzzed through that in real record time. Again, you've got absolute quality acting in there. Your Ian McShane is just fantastic in there as Ace Ranger.
Tim Oliphant in it?
Tim Oliphant is in there as well. A lot of other cast that you wouldn't necessarily have gone, oh yeah, I know that person. But yeah, a fantastic cast, fantastic story. Having known that it was finished, and it had been finished for a very long time. And
sometimes it makes it easier, doesn't it, when you're going to watch a show?
Yeah, kind of.
Because you've got
there's a finality to it. And then, having watched it at the time, I then became aware that they were making a TV movie, which, again, was out not too long ago, which bookended it ever so very nicely. Again, if you're a fan of Westerns, I'd heartily advise you to watch it. It is thoroughly enjoyable. Not most historically accurate, having done a bit of reading into it. Some of the people went off and became, massive individuals.
Has it got
America
like famous Western characters in it then?
Yeah. So
I'm going to sound really crap now, but your Wyatt Earps or your, I don't know, Jesse James, was he one? He was shot by the coward Robert Ford, I think.
Yeah.
In the movie title that gives away the ending.
There are a few. I mean, I don't, I can barely remember characters' names.
No, he was a pirate.
But yeah, Blackbeard's a pirate. Where are you going, Blackbeard? No, Calamity Jane was a person that you'll have heard of before. And I cannot, for the life of me, think of other people now off the top of my head. Al Swearinger, who Ian McShane plays, again was based on a real life person.
I see.
Seth Bullock, who is Tim Oliphant's.
Sorry, what was that?
Sorry.
Seth who?
Seth Bullock.
Bullock. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, you.
Sorry.
It wasn't the Ollock.
It's my ears.
It was the
it's
Ulloch.
my ears.
Yeah. So again, he was based on a real life individual as well. So yeah, there is another very important person whose name escapes me.
Oh, brilliant!
Off the top
Very
of my head.
important.
Yeah, I know, very important.
So important.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while since I watched it. But yeah, again,
if it's a female character,
no, it was not a female.
No,
it was not a female character. It was a male character. Again, it was just a fantastic series. It really, really did something special. Again, another HBO show.
Yes, which
HBO
will be a topic we'll discuss.
Yeah.
That's going to be an episode all about the HBO shows. I think we might have to try and see if we can find a winner out of them over the years.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one that I threw. Well, that's one topic that I threw in there.
Noughties versus tens or something.
Yeah. It's definitely. I mean, let's face it. With all the HBO shows that are out there, it's yeah, definitely.
It's a good one. Westerns have never been my thing. I've never been a huge Western fan, but it is one. I'm not going to say it's on my list because it's not. Because even if it's good, I still probably wouldn't watch it just because Westerns aren't my thing, and that's just one of those things. I just don't tend to enjoy them. Eek, sorry, comment section that doesn't exist. So. Oh, which one do I want to go for next? Number 3. Oh, I'm going to leave that one for last. Smallville.
Dad, are you okay?
Yeah, I think so. Your mother would be visiting me in the hospital again if you hadn't pushed me out of the way.
Dad, it wasn't me. I saw someone who can move like I can. I couldn't believe it. He saved you.
What?
Smallville.
Oh, Jesus
Come on, we got to talk about
Christ.
Smallville a little bit, and I'm not.
Oh.
I refuse to dedicate an entire episode to how rubbish the DC.
For those of you that don't know, I'm literally staring at the ceiling in disbelief at this moment in time.
Oh,
right Jesus Christ. 10 years of my life.
Exactly,
10
wasted.
years of my life.
But, because that was exactly what I thought. I was thinking about TV shows, and I thought Smallville. God, what a waste of my life that thing was. Because I watched it all, as did you, and we just waited and waited towards the end for what we wanted.
Yeah.
But, all that waiting and all those crap at the end made me forget how good the early stuff was. Because there was some good stuff.
Yeah.
Think back to the episodes where he got his powers.
Yeah.
Those episodes were great.
Yeah, first
Don't
couple
get me
of
wrong,
seasons were
the
interesting.
Fast and the Furious fueled kryptonite cars that we had at one point with Pete Ross being a street racer was rubbish. But there was some good stuff.
It got to the point where every other person was getting a special ability because of kryptonite enhanced.
Oh, absolutely. And that is an example of a show that took its Freak of the Week and never developed good enough characters to play off the characters consistently without having to resort back to the Freak of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
They always had to go back to meet your Freak of the Week for at least half a series of episodes to lean on. Because the characters weren't brilliant, and then half of them left. And then
one of them ends up in a massive sex cult now.
It overstayed its welcome was the problem.
Yeah.
And yes, by the end we were just going, oh, for God's sake, fly.
Yeah.
Fly.
I think it was the Smallville factor that keeps me away from some of the series like Arrow and Flash. I just can't. I cannot
the
face
DC TV universe.
Cannot face it.
Yeah, I agree.
Cannot face them.
I mean, it's their own fault because they used the same bloody showrunners as on that crap for to launch Arrow and to launch Flash and all that. And I watched Flash to start with, but it was one of those series that, they all were. They were series that, it's like Smallville. If I'd ever stopped at season 7 and thought, do I watch this every week because I enjoy it? Or do I watch it because it's a habit? Because it's what I do.
It was a habit.
And that's what I realised because I was watching Arrow and Flash and I wanted to give them a chance, and some of them were good, and I don't know whether Arrow was ever good, to be honest, but I can maybe convince myself it was, but I don't think it was. The Flash, I do think, had good episodes and was good at times, but I just stopped because I wasn't enjoying them every week. They were there, and I watched them, and that's what I did.
Unfortunately, I suppose if I see the word CW attached to a TV series, then I kind of give it. I mean, I've got
immediately walk away.
I don't mind a bit of Supernatural. Did enjoy that for a little while. I think it's been a while since I've watched the last couple of series of that, but. Yeah, if I see the word CW on it, and then I'm going to give it a wide berth.
Generally, I'll walk away.
Yeah, I'm going to give it.
And that's it. And it's all because of Smallville. All because of Smallville.
Yeah, it didn't tickle my fancy by the end. Jesus, it just felt like a horrendous 10-year slog.
Yeah, and that is exactly what it was.
Yeah, again, whether it had.
They managed, particularly in the last few seasons, they managed to ruin so many bad guys.
Oh yeah, and suddenly throw in magic and this, that, and the other in, and Lionel Lang doing this, that. It just got ridiculous. Whether it would have settled better if they'd have had the luxury of a 12-episode season instead of a 24.
Quite.
Again, that is the problem with some of the American shows. Not all of them could sustain a 24 episode series, I should say.
Wow, you're having a trip up.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good.
That's fine.
I had one in episode 1.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, no, I think it's the longevity of a series like that just didn't work.
No, absolutely not. Go on then. On that sad note, let's move on to something else.
That sad note, I'm going to bring it into something that we both absolutely love.
Good.
And
always happy to talk about.
Something that we both got a very, very special place for.
Go on then.
Which is Rick and Morty.
Okay, Gluty, take the app down.
Can I take it down? It's your app. I'm just an intern. That's not how apps work.
Then make it how it works.
This isn't how making things work.
Get it off the server. You think we're stupid, but we're not. We know apps have something to do with servers.
The server's on the mothership.
Where's the mothership?
It's coming.
Take us to it.
No.
Yes. Shake him more, Morty. That was working.
Take us to the mothership.
Oh, Rick and Morty.
Yeah. So you've gone from something terrible to somthing absolutely
something incredible. I'm so happy we've got more of that sooner than I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
And knowing that the new season is out before the end of the year is a huge plus. I mean, this was a series which I'd always had on my radar because big fan of Dan Harmon and Community, which I was tempted to throw into this list, but I abstained. That will perhaps make it into another list. But yeah, no, Rick and Morty was just the phenom for me.
I don't know, part of me wants to say I'd not seen anything like it, and I still think I can stand by that statement because it's not like Family Guy and it's not like South Park or Bob's Burgers and Archer or whatever.
Yeah, no,
I
Archer,
haven't
huge
seen
series that I love.
anything that melds what this melds, and it's the thing you get from it that you don't get from anything else. Is USP, if you like, is the improv bit. Which is all just Justin Roiland, as far as I can see, and like I don't know whether you've seen on YouTube, Adult Swim put some stuff up, which is Justin Roiland recording stuff, drunk. So they just ply him with tons of alcohol,
and he
sits in this booth and just starts reading his feed in line, and they're just going off and going nuts, and it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. It's the funniest damn series that has come around in a very long time for me. Fresh was just hilarious. There wasn't the thing is, you go back and you have your favorite episodes. I know Pickle Rick is one of your favorites, for good reason as well. Hence the reason I bought you the T-shirt.
Yep.
But there are so many unique episodes in there that tackle subjects as well. And that's the thing. It doesn't just go for, okay, we're just going to tackle this slapstick, situation. We're actually going to tackle topics as well, which I think was brilliant.
Yeah, it does. It does, and it's got some genuinely poignant moments towards certain episodes. You know, end in particularly poignant ways. The whole one, is it the one where they get divorced? There's a whole thing, the whole episode where they decide they're going to get divorced. I think it is where they're watching themselves in a different timeline where things worked out differently, and it's watching how their lives could have been that causes them to split up.
Yeah,
and it's, you know, the point of the episode isn't that question, but built in there is the question of, if you saw that your life would have gone differently, would it make you change what you're doing now? And without meaning to, or maybe it did mean to. It's asking that question.
Yeah, and I suppose the difference between this and other series is that there's actual character progression. There's not. It's not just a case of, oh, okay, you know, your Family Guys, your Simpsons.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same rollout of the same characters doing the same shtick. There's not real much character progression. You actually see it. Each of the family members goes through their own progression.
They all have their own little arcs.
You know, Summer
admittedly, it's 3 seasons in. It took. You know, you needed 3 seasons to get an arc for everyone.
But that's it. Summer is less of a character to begin with, becomes more of an integral part.
Exactly.
You know, and then it's actually not the Summer from the first one; it's the Summer from a different universe.
Exactly.
Morty, you know, is
and
so
that
hilarious.
thing that they skipped universe, killed off an entire universe, lost an entire universe, moved to a new universe, and then have kept that with continuity.
Yeah.
Whereas something like South Park would have just forgotten about it the next week and just carried on.
They talk about it and they go back to it at the beginning of the third series and kind of go, oh, well, actually, we've got the dead bodies of the guys from this universe who we took the place of. Morty,
what did they say they did to it? Is it Cronenberg'd it?
Cronenberg.
It's the
Cronenberg universe. That's right. You know, Morty becomes so confident. He's still the same person, but, you know, he becomes very confident. And the episode where they go off and, you know, they go off into space and they meet the Vindicators and they go off and do the whole thing, and Morty's just like, this is, you know, how many times have you had to disarm a bombs? Too many times, and it's talking about those. But it's brilliant. It's the one series that I can put on time and time and time again, and I just fucking love it every single time.
I agree. I go to it every now and then. It's a constant.
I mean, the
I don't know where I watch it.
As well.
A streaming platform that will remain unnamed because we're absolutely not pushing them.
No, no, we're not pushing them. But again,
although actually, I prefer the versions I've got downloaded because of they've got the swears.
Downloaded? You mean bought? You didn't pirate anything? Did you?
No. I downloaded them legally.
Legally downloaded.
We do lots of legal.
Legal downloads. Yes, where the swearing.
So it's got the swears in it.
Yeah,
the uncensored stuff.
Yeah. So when you suddenly get that into it, it adds another dimension to it as well, which is beautiful. Yeah, all the guest stars that have appeared in it. Again, a lot of community, representation in there as well, which I've loved. But yeah, the one series which just surprises me every time I watch an episode. It's the laugh out loud show every single time I watch it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's incredible, and actually, we've probably discussed that for longer than we've discussed anything else so far.
It's your passion.
It makes me think we should have a longer discussion about it later on. So, number 4. Now, I took out what I was going to talk about based on something you said to me earlier on pre-podcast and decided to put something else in because last night I decided to start watching the 3rd series of Stranger Things.
This is Susie. I copy.
Susie!
Dusty Bun? Dusty Bun. Where have you been?
I'm so sorry. I've been really busy. Trying to save the world from Russians and monsters.
Of course you have. Get the goddamn number already.
And I'm only 2 episodes in. But yeah, I decided to start watching it, and I really like Stranger Things. I think it's come on from where it was because when it came out, it was a bit Ready Player One. It was a bit nostalgia driven, you know. That's what got it big. Was the titles were very 80s looking, their music was very 80s looking. It played heavily on the nostalgia vibe.
Yeah.
And I think it did knowingly. It knew it was doing it, and I think it wanted to use that to draw people in, not as a crux.
Yeah, even the product placement and stuff like that.
Now not gone away from it being a crux. It's not, you don't tune in because you like the nostalgia buzz. There's more to it, because the more I think about Ready Player One, which is perhaps something we'll discuss another time, the less I like it, because the plot is nostalgia.
Yeah, I mean
the entire plot, like the main plot of what he's trying to do, is all about the nostalgia.
Yeah,
and I just think is there anything underneath that?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's...
it's just a big nostalgia play, whereas I feel Stranger Things plays on that, uses it where it wants to, and moves forward, and becomes its own thing.
I think, as you said about Ready Player One, I think that'll be a topic that we'll get to, which is books to movies comparison, and possibly get other people to discuss that one.
I think so.
Possible guest for that one. But yeah, no, having read the book and having seen the film, I was very excited for the film. It didn't necessarily live up to the book's expectations. I still very much enjoyed it. But as we discussed off podcast, Stranger Things for me, I enjoyed very much the first series. Again, not being a huge horror fan, has its detractions for me in a sense.
Yeah,
the second series very much lost me. There was a couple of episodes in there that were just completely pointless.
I do think there were a couple of what we would call filler.
Yeah,
a couple of bits of filler in there.
Yeah,
I agree
it just
with that.
by that point it had lost me. Again, I'm not jumping at season 3 at the moment. It's not on my to-do list at the moment. But again, if the resounding general consensus is that it's enjoyable, then sure, I'll give it a viewing.
Like I say, I'm gonna stick with it. I enjoy it. I'm from watching the first episode. I was back with the gang again, and I very much liked that, and that sense came back to me straight away. So
I think
the push on and perhaps we'll discuss it on further down the road.
I think like you say, the crux for me of that series was to begin with the interactions between the kids.
Yes.
It had that Goonies.
Stand By Me. It.
Yeah, that small group of friends.
Take any Stephen King book, actually, you'd probably find because I even think like Dreamcatcher starts with a group of kids. The film's rubbish, but the book's really good. But I even think that's got a group of kids in it.
Yeah,
probably in Maine.
But that's it. When you've got that little small group that were willing to do anything for each other because they've got the innocence of childhood. Is always good. When you look at that group when they get a bit older, there's a little bit more selfishness, whereas there's less of that at that point. They are out there looking for their friend, trying to do everything, whereas when they get a bit older they'll be like, oh, what's in it for me? It's but no, if you
funnily enough, there's a part at the beginning of the third season where that the dynamic that you had, because it does very much go, hey, you're back with the guys, and then it sort of starts to deconstruct that for reasons, and that that interested me as well, because it is the reasons are because of adolescence. It's because they're growing up that these reasons why they would disintegrate as a unit become more prevalent.
Again, that goes back to something we said before, about Rick and Morty, which isn't necessarily the case for all series, where there's actual character progression. Sometimes they just go, here, this is the trope of this is the character, this is what this is what they go through.
It's changed. People never change, but you do change, and particularly when you're looking at a child character who is going from childhood to teenage to adulthood, or any of those boundaries, there is going to be character progression. Of course there is. There are going to be changes to that person because they are becoming a different person in themselves.
No, I mean, certainly if you get through the series and recommend, then I'll go back. I mean, it is like I say, the only detraction for me is the horror element, I suppose. It just doesn't.
No, I see where you're coming from. But it's funny because a film like It, the remake, is. I personally wouldn't describe as a horror film because, or it's very loosely a horror film, but I'd say it's more a thriller adventure horror. But it's not high on the horror. It's more the tension that it builds, and they're the most effective for me anyway. Is the stuff that's based more on the tension rather than the gore or the shocks. Over
to me. Right, so I'm gonna go for another animated. Now this is one that we both share a huge passion for, and it wasn't one that I was going to include, but because we discussed it pre-podcast, I'm going to bring it up, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
The Golden Dragon Dance? But who am I gonna ask? Suki or Princess Yue?
I saw him first.
Don't make me use my moon powers on you.
I know who I'm gonna ask.
That's a great show.
Now,
but I'm deliberately not going to say much.
Yeah,
I do. As he says, we were discussing this pre-recording, and we are going to base an entire episode around Avatar and the Legend of Korra, its follow-up series, and the comic books and everything.
So yeah, if you're
that comes with it, the entire universe, that will come because we're both
sticking to that one.
Massive fans.
Again, I'm very, very happy that they're going to do a live-action series based on the disaster that was the live-action film.
Oh God, yes.
We will not be talking about that. We will not ever be
film.
talking about that unless we are describing worst films of all friggin' time. No, Avatar: Last Airbender, absolutely beautiful series, which you and I both fell in love with many years ago. It just
while I was at university.
Still back in those days. My God, again, make me feel old.
But even so, I was like 24 or something. I was 20 something.
Yeah, 20s. Yeah.
Oh no, not 24. I must have been early 20s. Then, like 21, 22, something like that. And I start watching Avatar.
Yeah, which essentially was a Nickelodeon kids program, which. Is so much less of a kids program than you realise as soon as you start watching it. But I mean,
it's one of those ones that's snobbishly viewed. It's a bit sniffily viewed.
Yeah.
Because it's a kids show.
It is, and that's the thing. It's that's the thing when you talk about some animated shows, people kind of go, an animated show, like how old are you? Yeah, I'm a grown adult, but guess what? That has more heart and soul in it than most of the pieces of crap that they pump
life
out.
lessons, humour.
Yeah.
Heartache, heartbreak, triumph. Oh God, yeah, we're going to discuss this show.
Yeah. So I won't say too much more on it, other than to say that if you haven't watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, go and watch it.
You really should.
You really should.
I'm going to try and get my daughter into it, as I said to you earlier. She's 10, nearly 11 now.
Yeah.
I think she's at the age where it's good enough now for her to get the deeper stuff.
Yeah, I mean it was it was a series where you get to the end and it was a heartbreak for a viewer to realise that this is it. This is the end of their story. There's no more story for them. And then Korra comes out and fills in a little bit of the gaps here and there.
She does.
And then they decided to spin it out into a graphic novel series, which we've read a good chunk of those as well. So again, it continues the story and it continues the characters' legacies, which is something which you'd only get with a passionate fan base and a passionate show like that. Not every single series that comes out can spin off into those successfully.
No, not
they will do them, and then it'll be, oh yeah, we're doing such and such a comic book series or whatever. Nobody reads the damn things.
No.
Whereas this one, the first one was such well received that they went and did another, and then they did another, and I can foresee it going on for a little while.
Because it was like 1 3-parter they were going to do, and then they ended up doing loads of little trilogies, didn't they?
Yeah. So we're on, I think, the 3rd or 4th trilogy now. Yeah. So yeah,
we lost track of them at some point. We will catch up to research. For
that's the problem. It was one of those ones where, because it was coming out in 3 parts over the course of a year, we hated that. So we wanted all 3 parts in a one, because I just want to read the whole thing. Because I get to the end of it and I'm like, no, I need more. I can't just have that. I need more than that. So.
No, you're absolutely right.
But yeah, so hopefully, we'll be touching on that at a later point, especially with Legend of Korra. There's so much to discuss in that as well. Obviously, they ramp up the animation a little bit more because they've got a bit more of a budget, etc.
As well.
And yeah, it's a good one that I love.
It's a good show. So I shall finish. Again, I think this is one that you'll like too. But this was when I first saw this show. I thought it was made for me, because it was playing off everything that I loved, and references.
I feel like I know what you're going to say.
Packed full of references, and I was like, oh my God, I get all of this stuff because I'm a geek. I'm like you. And it's space.
Look, can I bring the bike in? It's just seeing your landlady's curtains twitching. He's got the look of a bike thief about her.
What, aging female divorcee? What's she going to do? Sell it to buy Jacob's Creek?
Look at Sarky with me, mate. That bike's my living. Not like you pretend to be some struggling cartoonist pouncing off a stay while decent taxpayers like me fund your drink problem. I wouldn't mind so much if you seen me having such a shit time.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Freaking love that show.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's for those reasons, because it made me think, hey, you're like me. And it's something I heard the other day, is that all the geeks back from those times are now the ones in charge. Like the Rock, they were even talking about, like, used to wear fanny packs to school and stuff. Look at him now. He's the most successful actor in Hollywood. Or highest paid people, again, assuming there's a comments section, they'll go nuts over that one.
Yeah.
Highest.
Still,
I think he's still the highest paid actor.
He's
in
probably
Hollywood.
still.
I think
It's. I mean, don't
We'll
get me wrong.
that.
He makes some okay films, and then he makes some absolute tripe like Baywatch, but. He's paid well enough to do it,
He is.
and I mean, considering he's 50-ish now, I mean, guy's built like a brick shithouse, and as
Batista's 50.
But again, as the wrestling fans, I grew up watching The Rock in the Attitude Era of wrestling, so I always had a special place in my heart for him. But moving away from space.
Yeah, what a surprise we've gone on.
We've
space.
tangented
and
off.
Again, we should have pointed out we're sat here. Obviously, it is a audio podcast at this stage. I don't think there's any plans for a video podcast. I don't think anyone needs that.
You never know the future. You never know what the future beholds.
Do you know how many lenses we'd go through? We'd crack the bastards every time we tried to record.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think anyone needs that. But we're both sat here wearing different wrestling themed t-shirts, so we can sit here and say we're not going to reference wrestling as much
either.
as we
It was
like,
just
but
by
it is
happenstance.
definitely going to happen.
Definitely happenstance.
So there you go. I love Space. I absolutely adore it. It's where I grew my love of Peter Serafinowicz as well, and it's that thing of watching it and going, oh yeah, I sit at home, I sit and play video games, and it was that period of your post-uni doing the temporary job that you don't really want to do for the rest of your life, but you're sort of trying to make ends meet and get your way towards what you want to do.
And even if you are still at a point where
how
you don't
difficult that
necessarily
is, but still living like a student, perhaps, because you haven't got the responsibility of children and that sort of stuff weighing on you. And I just really identified with it, and I think it's hilarious. And obviously, I can't be the only one because they gave them films and whatever else that it spawned out.
Yeah, I mean, it spawned.
Again, Shaun of the Dead, for anyone that doesn't know, is spawned from a sequence in space where Simon Pegg's character has a nightmare fueled by the fact that he's been playing Resident Evil 2 for too long.
That is, it was one of those films where I'd enjoyed space. I hadn't, been as big of a diehard as other people, but I sat in a cinema and watched Shaun of the Dead, and at the time it was a point where I was actually living in North London, and as he was walking around I was like, I swear that is the street I live on. It genuinely felt like every single section of North London where I was living, which I know it was shot in North London as well, so it added that little special. But just unbelievable that film was. And again, it's the fact that team kept together and went through the Cornetto trilogy.
Which again I'm sure will be a topic for another time.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think it ended on the finest note.
Oh, no, I wouldn't stand by every film in that series at all, but
no.
Like I say, I think that's why it merits discussion of the positive and negative. But yeah, that's my last choice. So what's
my last choice now? Again, I was debating whether I was going to include this because, as much of a fan of this, I wanted to do a whole podcast on this individual show, and I'm hoping at some point we may do.
And but the problem is, it hasn't ended yet.
No, it hasn't ended yet, and I don't want it to end. I never wanted it to end.
20-minute sitcom, so it's
never
like
wanted
50
to end.
Episodes of
yeah, it never wanted to end. And that is Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Psycho.
The window is a time portal in 2000.
Why do you both jump out
Whoa. What the hell's everybody doing in my apartment? We having a gangbang?
Honest to God, one of the funniest shows I've ever watched in my entire life.
I've not heard anyone say it's not funny.
It's God's honest truth, one of the funniest fucking things I've ever watched in my life. And I can go back to a certain streaming site and watch that to my heart's content. No joke. I have watched that series back and forth.
Well, yeah, I believe you. I've walked into your house when you're cooking dinner, and generally It's Always Sunny is on in the background.
Yeah, it is indeed.
While you're cooking dinner.
And the show has just got... It went from strength to strength. You can go past the first series, second series.
Yeah,
and
you've said that before, but me being me, I've got to start at the beginning.
Of course. And I encourage you to do so, because you see the progression, again, with the characters. It isn't just a case of they are the same people. You see some of the characters, Dennis Reynolds within the series, he's just a bit odd to begin with, and you slowly but surely see how much of a sociopath he is. Danny DeVito's character Frank is, this father that comes in to try and reconnect with his kids, and he seems well grounded, and then he starts living this lifestyle, and then in the later series he's as bonkers as anybody else. Charlie, played by Charlie Day, he's still bonkers as much as the beginning, but again he kind of matures a little bit, still crazy. Mac goes from a guy who's straight to a guy who is gay, who's in the closet, who then finally comes out, and again that kicked off the last episode of the latest series, and
what series are we on? Go on.
12, series 12 now. So series 13 I think shooting at the moment. Okay. And again that it was just a beautiful, poignant episode without going into too much. Dee has been the constant crazy person throughout, but again, there are so many gems within that. You can watch individual episodes, you can collect, collections of episodes. If you just go and watch one episode, I encourage you to go and watch Charlie McDennis. They sit around, they've created their own game, and it's one of the most hilarious 20-25 minutes that you'll ever fucking watch. Nice. And it is the one show that is the constant for me. Again, similar to Rick and Morty, I suppose, because Rick and Morty has been on less and only been a few series. I got into Sunny, I think, from 3rd, 4th season onwards. So I've had the luxury of watching it for a good long period of time now. But they cover so many tropes. There's been musical episodes. There's an episode where you get the perspective of Frank, Danny DeVito's character. You get it's Frank's life, basically. You see it from his perspective.
Is it like literally shot from his POV?
Yeah, a whole POV, okay. And it is brilliant because again, it's just a whole different way of looking at the series. And just the one series that I heartily encourage to every single person that I speak to. I'm always like, if you haven't watched Always Sunny and you want a comedy, go and watch it. It's dark as shit in places, really, really dark as shit in places. They do not mince on that show at all. But it's the one show that I would. How many years have I been saying to you to go and watch it?
I will probably. I think slightly less than you were telling me to watch The West Wing.
Yeah.
Now, what was the other one? There was one that I finally caved and watched. Oh, there was The Wire, wasn't it?
There was The Wire, yeah.
You were going on about The Wire for ages and ages, and then I finally watched it.
See.
Rightly so.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Again, this is where
ain't wrong.
The screenmasters that we are. We recommend series to people, and we don't do it with lightheartedness. We do it with passion because at the end of the day, you can judge people's characters by what they watch as well. I find.
I don't know. I watched some.
I mean,
shite, and I'm not a bad guy.
Well, no, but when I have to sit around
shite
people in my office and they utter the words "Love Island," it literally makes me want to jump out the fucking window, and it makes me question their sanity.
I've got so much respect for people over the last few weeks.
Precisely.
They've decided to start talking about Love Island.
Yeah.
I'm like, you watch Love Island. Oh,
yeah. So for those of you around the world that don't know what Love Island is. It's a piece of shit. It's an utter piece of shit.
Lucky.
There is no such thing as a Love Island. It's a let's be a bunch of prima donnas and be a bunch of bastards. That's the way I look at it.
Wayne, I'd like you to leave that rant in, please. Great. Yes. So yeah, we'll finish this by talking about freaking Love Island. All right then. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
we could diverge to something else if you really need to.
Ticking on, and that was my man's last choice. So. We are going to call it on this one. So this was the second episode in our little series, Bav and Fluff Screenmasters.
Thank you for joining us.
I have been Bav.
I have been Fluff.
And we have been the Screenmasters. Thanks for listening, everyone. We will catch you on the next episode where we will be discussing... Oh, I don't know, actually. We've got lots of options. We'll talk about it over the next couple of weeks and get back to you, actually.
Yeah, that's depending on whether... I don't know why I started down that road. Whether we're actually going to have listeners. We might have 2 or 3 listeners.
If there's no listeners, we won't do anything. But we shall record a couple more of these in a couple of weeks. And thanks for listening, everyone that has. And we'll see you later.
Enjoy your viewing, Evan.